That leads us to our first guest. As Oregon Secretary of State, Fagan is the state official in charge of Oregon's elections. With the primary just a couple of days away, Secretary Fagan is tasked with making sure the election is secure and accurate. She's a native Oregonian and a Democrat who has served in both the House and the Senate. Fagan was elected as Secretary of State in 2020, assuming office in January of 2021. Fagan, welcome to Eye on Northwest Politics.
It's great to be here, Ken. Good to see you.
Well, Tuesday's election is the first in Oregon where the ballots will only have to be postmarked on Election Day rather than physically in elections offices by 8 p.m. Why was this change made?
This is a change made by the legislature in the last session in order to make our democracy and continue to be more inclusive, right? We don't want people who are actually casting a ballot on Election Day or maybe the day before Election Day to worry that it won't arrive by mail by 8 p.m. on election night. And so the new postmark law is put in place to assure that folks who cast their ballots on time, meaning their ballot is signed, sealed, and delivered to a mailbox on or before election day, that their votes are going to count and their voices are going to be heard.
Will you have to have your ballot at a post office by closing or drop box by closing to make sure it's postmarked on election day?
We are asking voters to make sure that if they're dropping it into, for example, a blue USPS collection box, check those collection times if you're actually casting it on election day, right? They will post right on there when those last collection times are. If in doubt, of course, you can always put it into an official drop box for the elections division by 8 p.m. on election day. But the most important thing, Ken, for so many Oregon voters who've been voting by mail for over 20 years is if you've gotten your ballot in by 8 p.m. in any other election, just keep doing what you're doing. You don't have to change anything. This just makes it more inclusive. So folks who want to mail in that ballot, maybe put it in their mailbox the day before election day on that Monday. You put that flag up, you can be rest assured that if it's picked up, it's going to be postmarked by election day.
Do you have any thoughts about how this could affect turnout?
Well, always making it easier to vote, we think will increase, at least encourage people to vote. Look, Oregonians are voters. We are civically engaged people. Oregon constantly boasts one of the highest voter turnouts in the entire country, and Oregonians are voters. And so we think that this will just help more people participate by not worrying that last weekend, is it too late to mail it? I'm sure that COIN, along with so many other news organizations, are always trying to guess during elections, when is that last day that it's safe to mail your ballot? Now you can just tell your viewers, if it's postmarked by Tuesday, May 17th, by election day, it is safe to mail it even on election day, as long as it gets that postmark.
Could this mean that we'll have to wait for results a little longer?
We don't anticipate too many people using this. Again, Oregonians are used to getting their ballots in by 8 p.m. on election day. We have elections in Yamhill County earlier this year. They weren't statewide, of course, but they were the first elections in Oregon to follow this new postmark law. And Ken, they only saw 1.5% to 2.5% of those ballots that were cast on time arriving in the elections office up to 7 days after the election, which is, again, they were cast on time. They were signed, sealed, delivered by 8 p.m. on election day. So we don't expect large numbers, but certainly in some very, very close races, just like we're used to in Oregon, that sometimes those are not called by our news organizations. The unofficial winners are not necessarily announced on election night. Certainly that may be the case here in Oregon, but I think that's more just going to be due to there being some close races on the ballot potentially in May, more so than to this new law.
Especially since 2020, there's been a lot of talk about election integrity nationwide. How confident are you that Oregon's elections are secure?
Oh, 100% confidence. Ken, Oregon elections are really the gold standard. Our tried and true vote by mail system is secure, it's transparent, and it's modern. And it's been built by over 20 years by Republican and Democrats. It is really something that every Oregonian can be proud of. From start to finish, our elections officials really take steps to ensure that our elections are secure. We have anti-fraud protections built right into our system, from voter registration information being verified, age and citizenship is verified by the DMV. When ballots are returned, officials are trained actually in forensic handwriting analysis to review those signatures. Every single signature is reviewed. It doesn't matter how big or how small the county is, every single signature on a ballot is reviewed. And then of course, ballots have a unique barcode on there. Every single ballot has a different unique barcode. None of those could ever go through the system twice. And then of course, we know our system is secure because we've been checking with post-election audits with hand recounts for over 20 years. And those are conducted independently in our 36 county elections offices. And those have been verifying results for over 20 years. So these procedures are why Oregonians can trust the results of our elections.
I'm glad you mentioned barcodes because in the past week, we've had an issue that raises questions about the use of those. The printer error that created blurry barcodes in Clackamas County that would likely be rejected by the machines that actually read the ballots. This means that tens of thousands of votes will have to be entered by hand. What did you think about that when you heard about it in Clackamas County, and how concerned are you about that?
Well, we certainly were in touch with Clackamas County officials right away. One thing that Oregon voters can trust about our system is that one of the built-in security features is a decentralized system. So the state doesn't print the ballots, right? The 36 independent county elections offices across the state, they're the ones who actually print those ballots. And Clackamas County used a vendor that wasn't used by any other of the 36 counties. And that vendor for some of the ballots looks like one of their printing machines was just smudging some of those barcodes. So first off, I'm a Clackamas County voter. Clackamas County voters should know, vote. Fill out that ballot, turn in your ballot, sign your ballot, get that in by 8 p.m. on election day. Your vote is going to be accurately counted and recorded. And there's actually a procedure in law that's been used in almost all elections. Folks just don't realize it. Let's say someone spills a cup of coffee on their ballot, right? They're filling up their cup of coffee in the morning. A kid walks by, happens in my house all the time, bumps a cup of coffee, it spills on a ballot. If those ballots get turned in, there's already a procedure in law to make sure that that ballot gets accurately recorded, even if maybe something is smudged by coffee or rain or something getting that wet. And so that's the procedure that Clackamas County is going to do here. And it's important for your viewers to know, Ken, that process is overseen by somebody from each political party. So what happens is somebody's going to read out that ballot, the ballot that was damaged, and then they're going to read out who the choices are. And then the person from the other political party fills in those choices on a clean ballot with a crisp barcode. Then they swap, and the person that was reading it out reviews to make sure those are all accurately recorded. Now that of course is going to take time in Clackamas, and we're working with them to make sure that they have the people and the resources that they need to get that done and to get it done on time. But the most important thing for Clackamas County voters to know is vote, your voice matters, and your vote is going to be accurately recorded in Clackamas County elections.
We also learned from your office that a web provider used by a campaign finance firm was hacked in a ransomware attack, we understand. Explain what happened there, and is there any threat to election integrity because of it?
The most important thing for Oregon voters to know, Ken, is that Oregonians' information in the Secretary of State's database is safe and uncompromised. It was a separate, had nothing to do with the Secretary of State's system that was hacked. But because of that, we still did an incident report out of abundance of caution, because those are the security features that are built in. We had folks reset their passwords. We actually had a media availability about this the other day, had our information systems director on there to confirm for the Oregon media that our database is secure and uncompromised. So Oregonians can trust that their information is secure in the Secretary of State's database.
Well, as you mentioned, we've been voting by mail in all elections in Oregon for more than 20 years now. Now, in 2020, the pandemic led other states to try it, and immediately there were accusations that at least of voter fraud and other threats to election integrity. What's been our experience with vote by mail, and are any of these perceived threats real possibilities?
Well, they're not real possibilities because the system was built to protect against those possibilities. Ken, as I mentioned, there are anti-fraud protections built right into our vote by mail system. As I mentioned, the most important thing is that we vote on paper. We vote on paper. And so from the, forensic handwriting analysis trained folks who are verifying every single signature, the unique barcode, the offline voting machines. So none of the machines that are tallying or processing ballots are ever connected to the internet. They are completely enclosed and have no access to any outside cybersecurity attacks. And then most importantly, we verify this and have for over 20 years with post-election hand recounts. And you mentioned we've been doing it for 20 years, Ken. I'm Oregon Secretary of State. I've never voted any other way. Vote by mail into effect statewide in 1998, and I'm a proud graduate of the Dallas High School in 1999. And so I've never voted any other way. And what I love is that after elections take place, right, people are used to Coin or other news organizations calling the unofficial winner, but the election isn't actually certified. My job to certify those elections happens about a month later after all of the security procedures have already been completed. And one of those is that we actually have counties pull randomly selected boxes of ballots off of the shelves after the election, and they hand recount those ballots to confirm they match exactly what the computer readout was. That happens every single election, Ken. It has for over 20 years, and it will happen again in May, and we know that these elections are going to be accurate and secure.
Thank you very much, Shamia Fagan, Secretary of State. Appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. And of course, I know you join me in encouraging everyone to vote.
You got it. Don't forget to get those ballots in by 8 p.m. on Tuesday.
All right. Thank you very much.